好，我哋今日主題係倚靠神。So today's topic is about depend on God。咁我哋分享第一節經文都幾長嘅，係啊出埃及嘅16章13至31節。So the scriptures we're going to share today is in the book of Exodus chapter 16, 13 and 31 to 31。咁我哋一齊讀呢段經文，或者我簡單讀一次，因為時間嘅關係啊。到了晚上，有鵪鶉飛來，遮滿了營。早晨在營四圍的地上有露水，露水上升之後，不料地面上有如白霜的小圓物。以色列人看見，不知道是什麼，彼此對問說：這是什麼呢？摩西對他們說：這就是耶和華給你們吃的食物。耶和華所吩咐的是這樣，你們要按照個人的飯量，為帳棚裏的人按照人數收起來，各拿1俄梅爾。以色列人就這樣行，有多收的，有少收的，及至用俄梅爾量一量，多收的也沒有餘，少收的也沒有缺，各人按照自己的飯量收取。摩西對他們說：所收的不許什麼人留到早晨。然而他們不聽摩西的話，內中有留到早晨的，就生蟲變臭了。摩西便向他們發怒，他們每日早晨按照個人的飯量收取，日頭一發熱就消化了。到第6天，他們收了雙倍的食物，每人2俄梅爾。會眾的官長來告訴摩西，摩西對他們說：耶和華這樣說，明天是聖安息日，是向耶和華守的安息日，你們要烤的就烤了，要煮的就煮了，所剩下的留到早晨。他們就照摩西的吩咐留到早晨，也不臭，裏頭也沒有蟲子。摩西說：你們今天吃着這個吧，因為今天是向耶和華守的安息日，你們在田野必找不着。6天可以收取，第7天仍是安息日，那一天必沒有了。第7天百姓中有人出去收，什麼也找不着。耶和華對摩西說：你們不肯守我的誡命和律法，要到幾時呢？你們看，耶和華既將安息日賜給你們，所以第6天他賜給你們2天的食物。第7天各人要住在自己的地方，不許什麼人出去。於是百姓第7天安息，連這食物以色列家叫嗎哪，樣子像圓鬚子，顏色是白的，滋味如同財物的薄餅。So because this passage is quite long, I just giving us some summary of what the passage is about. It's about when the Israelites, they were in the wilderness wandering, and obviously they were sort of in the desert with no food, and they were crying out to God, and then God actually gave them some quails, some small birds for them to eat, and then after that God gave them manna, M-A-N-N-A, manna, which is a kind of food. I believe it's like a little bit like the cornflakes, and then it's on the ground, and then people just pick up, and then God commanded them to pick up enough for the day and not to save for the day after. And then some people, they pick up more than they needed, and then they save that for the next day, and then those manna became rotted, and even worms appear with those manna. And then because they were against the instruction of God, God asked people to collect just enough for the day, not to save for the day after. But there is one day they had to collect because that day is the Sabbath. Sabbath is the 7th day of the week, and they are not supposed to work on Sabbaths, so they couldn't even collect or do anything on Sabbaths. So so on the 6th day they collected enough for 2 days. So enough for the 6 days, and then also enough food for the day on Sabbath. And some of the people, they even went out, tried to pick up the food, pick up the manna on Sabbath, and then God wasn't happy because they did not trust God. so they did not follow God's instruction. So this is the story about the Sabbath. 咁重點係咩咧？呢個故事啊，呢個故事係講嗎哪。咁嗎哪就係神供應人食物啊。咁其實就回應翻今時今日咧，好多時我哋會係即係好多人喺世界上面工作目的係咩咧？好多係擔憂啊，即係工作係擔憂唔夠錢啦，生活需要啦，會有唔同嘅問題發生啦，疾病啦，災難啦咁所以咧啲人工作就為咗自己積聚財寶。咁其實你睇到其實積聚財寶要幾多先足夠咧？咁我覺得有啲人而家科技發達，咁有啲人可能有癌症舉例，咁有啲人癌症，我要用呢啲嘅新式嘅藥物，咁咧啲藥物可能一年要用100萬，咁如果可能我而家係講緊人生存可能去到150歲，咁你如果70歲、80歲，咁你一年要用100萬，咁你計下嗰條數幾多啦？即係仲未計通貨膨脹，可能你好多億都未必夠去到150歲㗎。咁所以其實你見到今時今日人生嗰個嘅所有人都活喺一個嘅憂慮嘅當中，要為自己積聚財寶、積聚呢個嘅金錢啊各樣嘅物質嘅一個嘅世界。咁我哋點樣回應今日人對呢個世界睇法？我相信呢段嘅經文其實俾到我哋好多嘅答案。So actually this passage is about manna. Or when the Israelites they were in the wilderness, in the desert, they had no food, and then God provided them what they needed. And we look at what people are doing today. People are worrying about not having enough money. And then I know there are people that have cancer. Now today the technology is there. We have the medical services. People even having cancer, they can survive for a long time, but with a great expenditure. I know there are people that are spending probably like 1 million Hong Kong dollars a year just for the medicine to make them survive. But nowadays people are talking about we might live until like 150 years old, might be even longer later on in 10 or 20 years later. So if we retire at the age of like 70, 80 years old at most, and we still need to survive for another, could be 100 years. If every year you're spending $1 million, and then with the inflation, all these things, you will probably need probably be a billionaire to be able to retire. And people are just worrying about everything. So we need to understand what we're supposed to do as Christians based on this passage. 咁所以其實我睇到一個好重要嘅地方就係神嘅心意。神係一個供應者，神係無所不能嘅。就算喺一個沙漠裏邊，神都可以變佢成為一個嘅泉源啦一個嘅有河流，有各樣嘅生產俾到我哋咁所以其實我哋要明白我哋今世存在喺世界上目的係咩？我哋存在喺世界上目的為咗係要見證神啦、經歷神啦，要接受生命嘅考驗。嗰個生命嘅考驗亦都係愛神同愛人啦。咁其實愛神嗰個嘅要求就係守神俾我哋嗰個嘅命令，亦都係代表住我哋對神嗰個嘅信任。所以我哋喺呢段經文裏邊睇到個現象，當時以色列人對神嗰個態度點樣咧？佢見證咗神好多嘅神蹟奇事。咁但係你睇到呢班人雖然經歷過神好多嘅神蹟供應、紅海分開，咁但係當佢哋面對生活需要嘅時候，佢哋會點樣反應？即係當然佢哋其實已經係埋怨緊神啦，覺得神有冇搞錯？我哋喺呢個埃及原本係豐衣足食，要有乜食乜有乜，有魚有肉有好多嘅菜蔬可能咁應該係有嘅，即係嗰個地方係好富裕嘅。咁但係去到一個曠野咩都冇，大家要記住呢個基本上係40年喺曠野裏邊係兜圈佢哋，即係原本係好短時間嗰段路，其實講緊可能 100公里，我冇度過，即係總之係幾日行完嘅嗰段路，咁但係行咗40年，因為佢哋對神嘅埋怨、對神嘅不信嚇，咁神係用咗40年去訓練佢哋。咁就算喺呢段時間，我哋睇到即係神供應呢個嘅嗎哪俾佢哋，咁佢哋卻係冇跟從神嘅旨意。你可以話佢哋嗰個舉動，可能好多人睇嚟好細微，執多啲嗎哪俾2日食啫。咁有啲嘅儲蓄係一個好事㗎，即係好多人都係咁諗㗎。但係你講儲蓄背後嗰個動機係咩咧？即係我唔相信你聽日可能冇得食㗎咯喎，咁執多啲咯。咁但係供應嗰係邊個？供應嗰係神。即係你話聽日可能冇得食，即係相信你哋懷疑神嘅供應，你唔相信神嘅説話，咁所以你就用自己嘅方法去為自己流傳多啲啊。咁所以咧，成件事就係神所唔喜悅啦。其實以致神係繼續審判佢哋40年，就因為佢哋40年以色列人都係對神嘅不信任，對神嘅埋怨嚇。咁所以我睇到呢個嘅榜樣，神對人嘅供應咧，唔係話嗱我而家俾咗一個貨櫃嘅食物俾你，每人一個貨櫃，咁咧你就去到80、90歲你都夠食㗎啦，去到你百年歸老都夠㗎啦嚇，咁你哋唔使擔憂啊。神冇咁樣講喎，就算俾個貨櫃你都會話到會聽日落雨，會唔會嗰個食物會唔會生蟲發毛咧？咁我都係有諗第啲方法處理。所以其實我哋知道神嘅掌權，神嘅供應係喺神嘅掌握嘅裏邊嚇。重點就係我哋要完全100%順服喺神裏邊。即係神叫你今日去攞，咁當然話我神會俾我嘅，我唔攞，我坐喺度等，或者其他人會俾我㗎啦。咁但係唔係喎，神係叫你自己去執嘅喎。咁你如果食物你都唔去攞，當然你就冇得食啦啊。咁所以重點就係我哋要100%順服神，跟足神俾我哋嗰個命令。但係神好明顯叫你攞就係攞1日，唔係叫你攞2日。咁你攞2日嘅，亦都係違背神嘅旨意啦。咁所以啲嗎哪生晒蟲啦。甚至安息日，你安息日係唔應該攞嘅喎嚇，你要休息嘅噃。咁你就係攞，咁我哋都係違背咗神嘅旨意啦。咁所以其實我都一陣間我哋都講下呢個安息日呢個幾個簡單相關嘅事。So you can see that, we're living on the earth today, and we need to understand what is the purpose for us to live on the earth today. If you save a lot of wealth, save a lot of material things for yourself, we know that we're not going to bring those to our next life in heaven. So life is a test of obedience to God. And the instruction from God is to love God and to love other people. And to love God, that means we trust God, that we obey God, because we know that whatever God asks us to do is for our benefits. That's why we trust God, and then we obey God and do what God commands us to do. So we can see in this example, God provided food for them, and then God instructed them to just pick up enough for the day, not for tomorrow, not for the day after tomorrow, but just enough for the day, except on the 6 days, because they could not work on the Sabbath on the 7th day. So on the 6th day, they had to pick up enough for 2 days, and otherwise every day they just pick up enough for that day, and do not leave anything for the day after. But people obviously did not listen. They worry. Maybe today God gave us this manna. Tomorrow God might forget to give us food, and we will be starving. So we better pick enough, saving for tomorrow. But obviously God was not happy, because God wanted people to obey Him. And God could have given us a whole cargo container of food, and then, that's enough for your whole life. But God did not do that. God wanted to test us whether we can trust Him day after day. It's not only one time that we trust God. We need to trust God every day, every moment. So we can understand, the importance is for us to obey God. It's not about whether we billionaire, we have a lot of materials in this life. Everything is about trusting God. And then about the Sabbath, I will share a little bit more later on. 因為其實安息日大家知道係個目的就係、即係好多人都爭拗緊嘅，其實呢、個咁，但係我相信我俾大家嗰個答案係一個一個唔係好直接嘅答案，你可以話一個深嘅答案因為安息日係幾時先有係即係摩西喺神裏邊攞到個命令先至有嘅咁安息日亦都個重點就係休息，唔工作咁但係我睇到一個問題就係、好多人以為守咗一日安息日就代表咗遵行咗神嘅旨意。咁當然呢個安息日亦都係舊約裏邊嘅要求嘅。但係我哋睇翻新約裏邊咧，耶穌基督講得好清楚，即係安息就係、放下自己嘅工作，係與神同工。所以其實係見到亞當夏娃未犯罪之前係唔使守安息日嘅，因為佢哋都冇需要揾食嘅工作，因為一切嘢都係神供應安排嘅。因為人犯咗罪之後，人要辛勞工作先可以得着糊口，咁所以安息日某程度就係指出人係要翻去神嘅安息裏邊，停止為咗自己辛勞工作而佢得到自己嘅需要。因為其實我哋要相信神係供應者嚟嘅，神嘅目的原來係冇叫我哋要辛勞工作先至得到生活需要嘅。人要辛勞工作得到生活需要，呢個係因為亞當犯罪之後嗰個嘅咒詛。咁所以今日我哋作為基督徒，其實每一日都喺安息裏邊。所以嚴格嚟講，我哋每一日都唔能夠為自己生活需要嚟工作嘅。我哋每一日所工作嘅目的就係為咗去順服神，為咗去服侍神。咁所以大家要清楚知道呢個嘅關係先。我哋每一日都喺安息日裏邊，所以我哋每一日其實都唔應該去執嗎哪。我哋每一日，我哋相信神就自然將個嗎哪擺喺我哋嘅面前，我哋嘅需要神自動會供應俾我哋。但係我哋要做嘅工作就係做神嘅工作，以耶穌基督作為榜樣。呢個就係其實最終嗰個嘅安息日嘅工作嗰個目的。So about Sabbath, actually, we don't get the word Sabbath until Moses, who went up to get the Ten Commandments. And then, to obey Sabbath is the third commandment in the Ten Commandments. And people argue, the seventh day God rested from his work. So this is the beginning of Sabbath. It is related, of course, But then, before Adam sinned, basically Adam and Eve, they did not work for any daily necessities. They did not work for food or anything. Basically, they just manage the animals, they play with the animals. That's their jobs before they ate the fruit of they ate the forbidden fruit. So basically, to work hard to get our daily necessities is a curse because of Adam's failure. So God is using Sabbath to remind us that God's purpose is for us to rest in Him, to stop working for ourselves, to stop working to get what we need, because God always provides what we need. That's why Jesus talked about whoever wants to have rest, that come to Jesus, and then be yoked with Jesus, and then we will have rest in Him. So Sabbath is about stopping all our works and then just to work for Jesus. So basically, as Christian, we are priests. We are working for Jesus all the time, full time. Whether you are a medical doctor, you are a lawyer, you are a teacher, you are a merchant, you are whatever, you still work for Jesus all the time. So this is Sabbath. 咁所以呢個俾我睇到個嗎哪嘅教訓，其實就係我哋要明白依靠神，相信神嘅供應，做神嘅工作，呢個就係神俾我哋嘅生命嘅考驗。我哋今日生命裏邊都預備好多嘅，當然會憂慮啦，無論係工作上、生意上邊身體嘅健康上邊我哋都會遇到好多嘅憂慮。而家更加可能有戰爭嘅問題，可能金融嘅呢個嘅海嘯都未定特別係今年2026年，即係好明顯嗰個地球上面好多嘅紛爭會越嚟越多，可能會激爆到某啲嘅即係更大嘅世界上嘅問題。咁所以我哋要知道個資源可能會有機會有缺乏金錢上面可能有損失。咁但係我哋要相信神就係嗰個俾我哋嗎哪嗰位，神係個供應者。但係重點就係我哋要順服喺神嘅命令嘅當中凡事我哋喺呢個嘅安息嘅裏邊我哋係唔係要為咗生活需要而係工作，而係知道神必定會供應我。So the teaching is about we need to trust God, we need to rely on God, we need to depend in God always. Like this year, there might be a lot of instability in the financial markets. There will be even wars around the whole world. And with lots of conflicts between countries. We need to know that we might lose a lot like wealth, money for this year. And we might have a lot of worries all the time. But we need to understand God is the one who can give us manna, who can provide whatever we need, and whatever we experience is basically the test of our faith in God, our trust in God. So we just need to do our work as servants of God, and then God will provide us whatever we need. 咁最後我哋分享一段都係好簡短嘅經文啦就係提摩太前書6章17節。So finally we'll share the very short verse in the book of 1 Timothy chapter 6:17。你要祝福那些今世富足的人，不要自高，也不要依靠無定的錢財，只要依靠那厚賜百物給我們享受的神。So this is written by Paul asked the disciples to share this, to remind those who are wealthy, do not be arrogant, do not raise yourself, and do not rely on the wealth you have, which is without direction, which is but you need to rely on our God who can provide us everything. 所以呢個即係神其實聖經裏邊冇嚟到指責人好有錢好多財富，但係重點就係我哋有財富嘅唔係要嚟到自高自大或者高人一等，覺得我哋有錢人，我哋呢啲窮人就睇人哋唔起，或者覺得分門別類重點就係即係我哋謙卑呢個就係永遠都係一個嘅必然嘅教導同埋你唔好依靠你嘅財產，你以為有好多錢就我可以咩都唔使做啦，我可以唔怕戰爭又唔怕啦，我有幾多噸黃金喺度啲美金貶值又唔怕，咩港元貶值又唔怕乜都唔怕啦對唔住呢個我哋唔知道聽日咩事，可能有支飛彈飛埋，一個原子彈可能喺香港未定嘅咁你都咁當然離咗世咁就離世，但係可能離唔到世，你可能有好多嘅疾病咁都有好多嘅問題出現㗎咩事都會發生嘅。咁但係重點就係我哋要依靠神，神係個掌管一切嘅And the Bible is not against people getting rich. The Bible is against people who become arrogant and they think they're wealthier, so they're of higher status than other people. And we need to understand we are all the same. We are all children of God. God give you more money because God wants you to use those money to do His work, to bless other people. It's not for your own enjoyment. And also we are not to rely on the wealth we have. Yeah. And you shouldn't say that, I have enough money to retire. I'm not afraid of any wars or any natural disasters or even diseases because I have money to fix everything. Yeah, you shouldn't say that. You need to rely on God, depend on God always. Yeah, because tomorrow there might be a nuclear bomb somewhere, and then you might have a big trouble. Yeah. 咁所以最後就俾我哋睇到神係嗰個供應者我哋任何時間我哋都要依靠佢，亦都神喺當我哋做好自己嘅工作嘅時間，神必定會供應我哋生活嘅需要叫我哋冇缺乏。So we need to understand that finally that we need to always depend on God, rely on God, knowing that God is the one who always control of everything, and God can supply whatever we need as long as we are His servants doing His works.